Well, today I'm going to do a follow-up on the big blackberry freeze die-off that I did a week or two ago, and tell you the best advice for what to do with yours, and it's not necessarily advice from me. So I have in the past been in contact with Dr. John Clark. He is the one who developed the blackberry program pretty much at University of Arkansas, and I think all the primocane berries were developed by him or under his care. He is responsible probably for many of the new cultivars of blackberries in the last 20-25 years. God knows his stuff, okay. And told him the problem we have with the die-off on the Primark Freedoms especially, but not just the Primark Freedoms. Sent him a link to my video, which he said he watched, and anyway, communicated with him about what we were seeing, and just in case you're not privy to what we were seeing, let me show you what I'm talking about. So after a late freeze, not a frost, but after a late freeze, when my primocane berries were all bloomed out, I started noticing that the places where there should be berries were now just dead blooms, or the residue of dead blooms. There's just nothing there. And all over the country, people have written back to me and commented on that video that they're seeing the exact same thing in their blackberry patches or in their blackberries. But let me read to you what Dr. Clark said we should do. A lot of people asked, what should we do? Should we cut them all back? If we're not going to get anything, should we cut them all back? Should we let them grow and just wait on the primocanes to come up and give us primocane berries this summer? So I put that question to him and he answered it, and I will tell you now exactly what he said. So let me read this to you, and I'll also put the entire conversation below the video in the show more box. So be sure, and if you miss anything here, be sure and go back and read that. Alan, I looked at your video and see the damage you mentioned. Primark Freedoms bloom about as early as any blackberry I know of, and have seen this damage a good bit over the years. Usually not as bad as you got it, as it looks like you were all bloomed out and too early fruit set when the freeze happened. Thus, you look to have lost the whole crop. Lows of 29 to 31 will do that, or lower, of course. I suggest a couple of things. So this is what he suggests we do to our blackberries if we have received a kill from the freeze. He says, I suggest a couple of things. Leave the Floricanes there and see if you get any secondary buds develop. I don't think the Primark Freedoms will make many, but maybe you can get a few. It won't hurt anything to leave the canes a while, but if they start collapsing due to some damage to the canes in this freeze event, then you can go on and cut them out. The second reason to leave the canes is they are making photosynthetes that are going to help the primocanes and overall plant to be stronger. These leaves you have are functional and do some good, just won't be sending the photosynthetes to fruit, most likely, unless you get some later flowers. And we'll talk about that in just a second. How long to leave? How long to let them stay there without cutting them out? All right, how long to leave? Till they go to winding down or the primocanes get big and strong. Unless dead, I don't see a problem leaving these. Luckily, you have poncas and maybe some others, and these bloomed later and avoided the freeze. If you have natches, you might have some damage too. Ouachita, likely not. You might get a little earlier primocane bloom and crop since a floricane crop was missed, but I'm not guaranteeing this. I have seen that happen when only the primocane crop was produced, but that was seen more in California on Primark 45s in commercial plantings. I hope this helps you out. John R. Clark. So I wrote back and said it certainly does, and I will relay this information to all my viewers that are quite concerned about this. So first of all, let me show you something I am finding. Not much, but I am finding. I did get some late blooms on the Primark Freedoms. whether you can see that or not, it's kind of dark up in there. But there is a new berry. Right there. I don't have many. Not many at all, you know, probably that I've seen, maybe a half dozen. Some of them may be hiding under there. So my plan is to do exactly what he said. I'm going to leave the canes, although they really look like they're spent. They look like they're not doing anything, but he said these leaves are providing benefit to the new Floricanes that are coming up. And I am getting some Floricanes. There's one right there. New Floricane coming up. That's a new Floricane coming up. It's about 18 inches tall or so, healthy looking. And these leaves from the old Floricanes that don't look great are actually providing some benefit to the new Floricane. So I'm going to leave them for a little while longer. He suggested leaving them till the Floricanes, the new canes that are coming up now, till the Floricanes get big, strong, healthy. And then the Floricanes themselves, the leaves on the Floricanes, will take over and provide the plants with everything they need. At that point, cutting them back. If these start to die out, start to really be looking a lot worse than what they look right now, then I will go ahead and pull these out. But these right here, those are Primark Freedom blooms. They're there and up there, right in the middle, right there. Those are Primark Freedom blooms from Floricanes. I really didn't expect any, but I am seeing a few. So I'm gonna get a few berries. It's just gonna be later. I just don't want the Floricanes to shade out the Floricanes. So I'm just gonna kind of monitor the situation. If I feel like the new Floricanes are coming up and doing well enough, and that's just going to be a judgment call, I guess, on my part and yours. If I just feel like they're doing well enough to make it on their own, then I will probably start cutting out. Maybe slowly at first. Maybe start taking out the last 3 or 4 feet of it. And not the entirety of the canes, the old Floricanes. Some of them have died off. That one there is just pretty much dead at about the 3 foot level. At about 3 feet, it just died. That can come off for sure. But I'm gonna start taking some of these off in the next 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Start taking some of those off and leaving room for and providing sunlight for the new Floricanes that are coming up. Because I've trimmed in the past. I've come in here and opened up the bottoms, cut off a lot of the leaves, the bottom leaves, maybe 16, 18 inches up, and just really skinned them hard. And that, to me, seemed to have really promoted Floricane growth. So I don't want these Floricanes to shade out so much that the Floricanes aren't getting the sun they need to come up. Now they're wanting to stretch. There's a good example, another Floricane coming up. Floricane, right there. So I'm getting caught. So there's a nice one there. That's a nice Floricane. It's already 2 feet tall, 30 inches tall. So I'm getting some. They don't seem to be shading out. They seem to be, and part of it maybe because these leaves are starting to curl on the old Floricanes. They're starting to curl a little bit and just not as bushy, not as shading effect as they would be if they were a good healthy cane. So that's what I'm going to do. That's really what I suggest you do also, is listen to Dr. Clark. He knows what he's talking about, and he's seen this before, and that's what he suggests. Leave them alone for a little while. Let them provide some energy for the new canes coming up, and also leave them just to see if you get a few late blooms, which I've shown you I'm getting a few. Not many, really not worth messing with, but I'm going to leave them anyway and just see what I get. So that's what I'm going to do. I suggest you do the same. Now, some of you may say, well, I had a lot of people comment, say that they were going they were just going to cut theirs out. And you may have already done that, so don't say, oh my gosh, I've made a mistake. He didn't act like that was a big deal. It was just his suggestion to leave them. He said it's not going to hurt to leave them, so I think you'll be okay, and you might even do better than me in that they're going to get a lot more sunlight. The new canes, the primicanes, are going to get a lot more sunlight from having taken out the old canes. So you can do whatever you want to. I'm going to do what Dr. Clark suggested, at least for another 2 weeks, maybe 3. And just when those new canes get up and they get close to that top wire on that trellis, and that may not be 2 weeks, that may be pretty quick. They get up to that, close to that top wire on that trellis, and I start to tip them, that may be when I start pulling out some canes. I wanted to give you that information. I want to do it as quick as I could get it from him and give you the opportunity to at least know what he suggests, and maybe you can follow suit. Hope this helps you. Let me know what yours are doing. If you're finding any late blooms, like I'm finding a few, and like I say, not many, probably less than a dozen on 9 or 10 plants here. But if you're finding any late blooms, let me know and tell me what you're going to do. Let me know what you're going to do with yours. And I'll show you when I start pruning mine out, a week or 2, 3 weeks from now, whatever it is. I'll bring you a video and show you exactly what I'm doing and why, and we'll go from there. All right, I think that's it. We're gone.